The true story. No joke. You ready? Let's do it again. Here we go. It was around Halloween, when I was about 13 or 14 years old, in a small town with a dried up lake now turned to a dirty black river. There was not much to do. It was dark out and about 8 p.m. So I went outside to see if any neighbors were home. I knocked on the door of little old lady Miss Hasselberger. She was about 80 and lived all alone. She spoke with a slight German accent, and she asked me if I knew about the history of my house. I said no. She said, "Sit down and let me tell you." She said, "Did you know your father bought that house for a reduced price because of what happened there a couple of years before you moved in?" I said, "No, what happened?" She said, "A lady and a man lived in your house." She went on to say that one early morning the police came and invaded the house. I asked some people standing around what was going on, and she said it seemed that there had been a loud male scream and then a man running from the house. And when the police got there, they supposedly found the lady dead in her car that was parked in the garage. It seemed she had committed suicide. Little old lady Miss Hasselberger said I was not surprised because there was always fighting between her and her husband. So in the next couple of days, dogs were sniffing around the house, looking for clues of something. The newspaper the next day reported that the police were looking for the man. It appears he ran away. And it wasn't until 6 months later that the news came out that they never found her body in the car. Just a garage filled with carbon monoxide, but no body. The man had still not been found. All they found was a note on the steering wheel from the lady saying she was going to die soon. So needless to say, I was scared to think someone could have been murdered in my house. All I kept thinking was, where is the body? So one day, not so long after that, I kept saying to my father that I was bored and had nothing to do. You see, it was raining and thundering and lightning outside. And I was really bored, and I kept just bothering him. I didn't know what to do. He said, "Go outside and play." I said, "But it's raining and thundering out." He would just look at me as if to say, "Leave me alone, I am busy." So I told him he didn't care about me, and he said, "You're right, I don't care." So we got into a fight. It was physical, with cold stare, glances back and forth. He raised his hand in the air, and I raised my fist, and turned and punched a hole in the wall. And I went downstairs to my room located in the basement. I decided I was going to work out on my weight bench. Now, for light in the dark basement, about 6 months ago, I had installed a long workbench light. It was bolted into the rafters in the ceiling. In order to not think about the pain of bench pressing, I would stare into the light that was installed right above my workbench, my weight bench. I picked up the bar with about 150 pounds on it, and then all of a sudden, just like that, the one bolt pulled right out of the ceiling rafter, and I was trying to put the bar back on the holders in order to get away before the light came down and crashed on me. But just like that, the other bolt gave way, and the light starts to fall from the ceiling. I quickly threw the bar behind me, and I rolled off the bench just in time for the light to crash down on the bench. Well, I was pretty shook up, and I thought this was no accident. That light had been up there for 6 months with no problem. I thought, what if it was the lady that died, trying to kill me for destroying her house? Well, a couple of weeks went by, and I tried not to think about it, but the creaking of the ceiling above me always reminded me. Then one day it was dark and raining really hard, and a couple of years back we had a pump room installed in the corner of the basement so that it would pump water away from the foundation. Well, it wouldn't turn on. So I went by the pump room to see what was going on, and all of a sudden, a light that had not worked in quite a long time, that had been hardwired through the ceiling, that was hanging right outside the pump room, started to buzz. Then something like a zap of light fried and split the wire that was hanging the light, and the light came dropping down and almost crashed on me. In fact, it had landed right next to me. I ran so scared out of that basement, I told my father, and he said, "Don't worry about it. It was old. One light almost killing me may be a coincidence, but not two of them now." So one day, I decided to call my friend Eric. I told him that I thought the lady's spirit was trying to kill me, or get me to run away, because I kept fighting with my dad and kept punching holes and breaking doors. he said to me, "Wait a minute. What if the man killed her and buried her body in the basement somewhere?" The only place we could think of was the 6-foot-long couch that was built into the wall. We knew that it was kind of hollow under the seat part because when we jumped on it you could hear it sounded empty. Was the lady's decomposing body inside the lower box part of that couch? We decided that we had to find out. We thought if we can get her body out of there, then I would be able to stay alive. Because for sure one day, she would kill me somehow. So we went and got a couple of hammers and a crowbar, and we started taking the nails out of the seat part and slowly lifted the wood. I was so scared of what we may find. Slowly we pried and tried to get the rusty nails to pop loose. And then finally, it came loose. We jumped back and gained our breath, now breathing heavy. We glanced inside, and there was an old kitchen sink with what appeared to be red paint stains on it. We slowly picked up the sink to take it out when we heard a bump inside that pump room, like someone was inside there. We froze for a moment, and then continued to put the sink on the ground next to us. Then we found a black velvet cloth, and in the cloth were an artist's design tools. A silver compass and some silver sharp carving tools and some colored pencils. And then it hit me. I got real scared because I remember little old lady Miss Hasselberger told me that the murdered lady was an artist designer. It all started making sense. He must have killed her and washed up in the kitchen sink. He must have stabbed her. She must have been crying out for help, and no one heard her. But then he must have replaced the kitchen sink and hid the old one inside the couch in the wall. Perhaps he used one of her tools to stab at her, and that is why they were hidden in there? But where was the body? There was only one place left to look. Inside of that couch, the floorboard, when we tapped on it, it also made a hollow sound, meaning that under the base of the 6-foot-long couch there was an empty space within the foundation. That had to be where the body was. Now at that moment we heard something strange. It was the front door opening, but who could it be? It was too early for parents to come home from work. We heard footsteps across the living room floor heading toward the basement door. The door flung open. We both screamed with horror and then relief. It was only my father. You see, he had come home early from work, and he asked what we were doing, and we said, searching for the dead body of the lady that used to live here. He just chuckled and then laughed and said, "Well, good luck. You will never find anything." Well, after that time, neither me or Eric had the courage to look under that final piece of 6-foot-long couch base. Now many years have passed, and we never did see what was under that wood or in that space. Could she still be down there? Could there be nothing but her rotted corpse and skull and bones stuffed down the foundations of my old house? Well, needless to say, I moved my room out of the basement back upstairs, and I lived in caution at that house until I was thrown out at age 17. We never, ever went back.
A Midnight Runner radio production.
You're listening to the Midnight Runner radio show with Christopher Knight. We'll be back in just a moment.